Playbook presented by FantasyAlarm.com is now open on Bettor Sports Network with Justin Fensterman.
I did have imaginary friends. They were fun. Having an imaginary friend actually helped make me the broadcaster I am.
And Adam Ronis.
Did you have an imaginary friend when you were a kid?
No, I had real friends.
Take it away, boys.
The playbook is live here on the Bettor Sports Network. What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman. His name is Adam Ronis. For the next couple of hours, let's talk some sports. Let's win while talking about sports. Roan, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. You know, in the middle of a ton of slow baseball drafts. Got my real drafts coming up. NBA props. Already took advantage of a boost. Well, we'll find out if I did. But,
ooh, what a tease.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Well,
very nice.
Very nice. Happy times. We got our producers, Adam Bernard, back with us, the resource and the franchise. Tony LaBarbera also hanging out with us, too. Let's talk about, Roan, our opening plays of the night here, because this is what we're going to be starting to do on the playbook. Going to feed you early with one play each. Could be a boost if Roan wants to give away the boost. Or it could just be a simple play that we're considering for tonight's action to let it marinate in your minds. And then we'll go over more props in more detail a little bit later on in the show. Good guests coming up here. Matt Sells stopping by. Talk a little Pennzoil 400 and little NASCAR. That's right. And then after that, Rick Kamla. Ricky Prop's going to stop by Bettor Sports Live, airing right after us, 7 p.m. Eastern tonight with Rick Kamla and Lisa Ann. So, Roan, you want to just talk about the boost right now since you seem to have it on your mind?
Sure. So this is a DraftKings boost. It is Kevin Durant, who is making his debut tonight for the Phoenix Suns to score 15 points or more, 1 3-pointer or more, and the Suns to win. That is plus 100. I don't see how this doesn't hit. I don't think Durant will be on a minutes limit, even if he is. I mean,
what if I told you he's playing 25 minutes tonight?
I'd still do it.
Okay, there you go. Sold then.
You don't think he's going to take a ton of shots? They're going to look to get him acclimated. Chris Paul's just going to keep feeding him.
And that's the key
it's
right
Charlotte.
there. That's the key. Chris Paul, he doesn't want to shoot. He wants nothing to do with shooting the ball. Kevin Durant being there is just perfect for him. So he immediately goes, who do you think is going to be the prioritized scorer now? Is it going to be Durant or is it going to be Devin Booker? Do you think Durant comes to the Suns and goes, look, Devin Booker's the main scorer here. If I have to be second banana here, get a few less shots than him for the most part, so be it. Or do you think this will end up being Kevin Durant's offense?
I think it leans Durant, but I think Durant and Booker will both score a ton.
Yeah, I mean, there are enough shots to go around. So, yeah, if we're thinking, because I think his minutes are going to be monitored tonight. I don't see him playing 30.
Did you do this boost?
I have not bet the boost yet. I'm considering it. No, I'm not betting it. Dude, it's been a very busy day, 2 days, man. It's just been one thing after another. So I did not place the bet on the boost yet.
Wow, I thought you were in. You said it's a no-brainer.
No,
you lied, man. Good. You lied.
I didn't lie. I said I was in, so I'm going to go in on it. But yeah, man, I agreed with you. You said you texted me, how can we not play this? And I said, it looks good. I agree. And you even said it 25 minutes, which was my main concern tonight, that he plays maybe 25 to 27, and that's it. You're still fully confident that he'll hit that. And you're right. He's going to take a lot of shots. He's not just going to be sitting out there, you know, like a smoke screen or anything like that. He's going to shoot. That's what he does.
Yeah, you know, he's very efficient too. It's Charlotte, no LaMelo Ball. They're terrible defensively. I mean, I'd be surprised. Now, I guess I will give you credit, which I never do, right? According to you, which is not true. But you did say you weren't, and I agreed to an extent because I didn't pull the trigger. The boost yesterday, Luka and Damian Lillard to each score 30, and you were more worried about Luka. Luka got the 30. Damian Lillard didn't get there somehow. He had 19 at halftime, and he finished with 25. And
I didn't text you. I didn't text you about it.
His points prop was 37.5 points, which he had gone over in 7 of the last 10 games. But I did think it was a little – I mean, 30 is asking a lot from two guys, as good as those two are. I mean, 30 – and, of course, I was like, watching Dame be the one not to do it, and it wasn't Dame. So, and he's back in action tonight, but at least he's not in the boost. But this Durant one, I don't see how it doesn't hit. 15 points for Durant is like nothing. And 1-3, and the Suns are going to win. That's probably the easiest leg of it. There's no way they're losing to Charlotte.
I'd be
way.
very surprised. I'd be shocked.
I mean, even Durant's last game, he only scored 17. I mean, let me see. I don't think he scored below 15 this year. Maybe one. I see a 17 his last game, 17 against Toronto in December. We had 12 against Toronto on November 23rd. What happened there? 5 at 10. And so that was the only game this year that he had below 15. One game. I know it's a different team, but all right, look at the last game he played against Miami. He only took 11 shots from the field. He hit a 3, and he was 6 of 7 from the free throw line. How does he not get it? And I'm trying to see. 29 minutes he played against the Spurs, 25 points. No threes. And 29 minutes against Golden State, 23 points in a 3. I mean, he usually always plays over 30. So 29 I see is the fewest amount of minutes he's played this year. 29 is the fewest amount he's played.
Right. I mean, this is a different situation coming off the injury now. And I'm sure first game back, they just want to see what they kind of have in him first. So I'm fine with this, Roan. The points I'm not worried about. The threes, I'm still not worried about. I think he'll be able to take a few from downtown. The minutes are the one question here, but he can do a lot still in 25 to 28 minutes. I really don't see him playing 30 minutes in this game. By the way, this game, I was looking at the spread, 10.5 points this one. I'm tempted, but still 10.5 is just so much, bro. And even a backdoor covers and everything that can happen because Charlotte's a very quick-paced team. I don't see Phoenix losing this, but whenever I see 10.5, for the most part, I stay away.
I would too, but I would take the Suns and lay the points. I just don't see how they don't, hammer them. And I would take the Suns money line in a parlay if you were doing a parlay.
Right. No, that's true. That's a way to get it in then. Minus 520 on DraftKings. Here's my opening play that I'm considering. I want to do something, Roan, with the front courts, with the centers and power forwards specifically.
I know. Where? Let me guess. Can I guess what team?
Yes.
Detroit.
Yep, absolutely. Because here's the deal at this point. We know that Bojan Bogdanovic is going to play, but Livers looks like he's going to be out. I didn't see that confirmation yet. We know Jalen Duren's out. He's out. So Livers is out.
He just texted me.
Oh, great. See, look at you with this. You don't even need sources.
I don't.
The players just love you.
Who is Shams?
Yeah, it's Shams, actually.
Shams, whatever.
It's okay. It's all right. He's your best friend.
Yeah.
So no Livers, no Duren, and no Stewart tonight. So I got to ask you, man, I saw points, rebounds, props for both Wiseman and Marvin Bagley. They both sit at 21.5. And I'm considering, I have not placed this bet yet. I'm considering a Marvin Bagley double-double at 180.
Well, he's in my NBA DFS value video at Fantasy Alarm. You could go check that out during one of the box breaks. But, Bagley's in there. He's got 2 double-doubles in 2 straight games, and he's played like 24 and 27 minutes. Maybe he starts tonight. So, yeah, man, that's not a bad. He's plus 200 for a double-double on FanDuel, plus 180 on DraftKings.
I've been looking at that one for the last few hours, man.
You know what? Let's just do it.
We're doing it then. There we go. That's
right?
one that we're in on. Well, I mean, let's talk about it because here's the deal with Wiseman. Wiseman at 21.5, and this is just, I know we're talking
21.5.
They're both 21.5, but let's discuss this. Wiseman, though, he doesn't have that same volume over the last couple of games that Bagley has shown, especially in both categories. So we're going to need Wiseman if we were going to bet the Wiseman prop on there. If we were going to 21.5, I'd still be probably a little bit more comfortable with Bagley. Also, the Bulls, but Bagley's going to be at the power forward spot, which I'm expecting him to be for the most part. Bulls give up a lot of rebounds to power forwards as well. And Bagley's been rebounding the hell out of the ball. So I'm trying to figure out, do I take the over 21.5 or do I just go with the double-double? Hard to pass up on plus 180 for this guy.
Yeah, kind of like, I think the double-double, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm heading. That's why I put them both in there for our opening bet. I was considering something for Vooch, but the boards screw me with this guy every single time I bet him, man. That's the one problem. I mean, he could easily score a zillion points, but how many boards? He can grab 5 boards and that's it. That's why I'm not doing the 2-leg double-double between these two front courts. But that Bagley double-double plus 180, I think, is a very, very nice odds right there.
Yeah, it's plus 185 on Bet365. Let me double check. I think it's plus 200 on FanDuel.
There's your best odd shop right there. That's good.
Yeah. And why don't you have a FanDuel account?
I do. I just haven't bet on FanDuel. I got to do that, man. You've been talking to me about
And
this.
did you get any bonuses when you signed up?
For FanDuel?
Yeah.
I did not. I don't.
You should have.
Oh, no. I have an account with FanDuel. I have not placed a single bet on the FanDuel Sportsbook, though.
So
I've been really DraftKings heavy. That's it. Underdog before that.
Okay.
That's really where I've been staying here. I got to do that. And Ronas has talked about this a lot for those that are just beginning in wagering, the importance of odd shopping here. These books want your money. Some of them are going to give you nice forgiving odds right there. Look at the difference here. FanDuel, plus 200 for that double-double. Very nice. Plus 180 still nice as well. But the plus 200, definitely more attractive. And Ronas is very good at odd shopping. I can only imagine what he's like in a grocery store if he ever goes in one. Probably spending less than $50 on $120 worth of items with coupons that he has.
With inflation now? Are you crazy?
Inflation. Jeez, there's always going to be inflation. So that's my opening play. You've got the boost. I've got this with the Pistons. And I got to give Vooch a little bit of credit here because if you look at the defense versus position there, the Bulls are actually the 12th strongest team against centers.
They've actually played pretty well defensively this year, looking at the defensive numbers, which is...
Well, I mean, Patrick Williams makes his nut off of playing good defense. That's what he does. DeRozan plays decent defense as well. Them two with Vooch, it's been good with them. But for this man, because of the players being out and everything in Detroit, it just makes sense that Marvin Bagley should play at least 25 minutes tonight and should be able to nail this double-double.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, he's had a double-double in 4 of his last 5 games where he's played at least 25 minutes.
It's just something we got to consider. And I just don't see how he doesn't get the minutes tonight. So we are in agreement on that. Ron, let's talk about some of the trendy topics when it comes to social media in the world of sports here. Our guy, Ja Morant. I mean, this incident happened, it seemed like over the summer, but a little bit of a pickup basketball game that got a little physical. And there were reports out there, the Washington Post was all over it, about Ja Morant, punching a 17-year-old kid who claims he hit him accidentally, then maybe a gun involved as well. It's just it's very weird to see all of this. We got to be sensitive with the situation because we don't know all the facts. There's reports of, is there sufficient evidence? There's still lawsuit going around. I don't want to start to jump to conclusions here or anything, Roan, but it's a kid that's involved in this, and let's prepare for the worst for a second here. I don't see this happening, but Ja Morant potentially getting shut down by this team if this escalates. I don't see this happening from the little information that we know, but you know how these things can definitely start to snowball. And unfortunately, that's where the mind goes when you see one of these athletes, especially him, top guy on his team, getting into a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say because we don't have the facts, so it's not even worth speculating.
Right, then let's move on to more JJ Redick. JJ Redick likes to make news, and he and Kendrick Perkins have an opposite opinion on Nikola Jokic. And JJ Redick is saying, well, the Nuggets are in first place. Jokic is averaging a triple-double. Why shouldn't he win the MVP? Kendrick Perkins goes on one of the shows. I don't know if it was he went on First Take or he went on one of the ESPN shows, and he was disputing this, saying, well, just because he is averaging a triple-double and the Nuggets are in first place, that doesn't mean he automatically should get the MVP. What? He starts going over players who won it, who were not in the top 10 in scoring, or players who won it who, the teams weren't in first place in their conference. And again, I just don't see how you don't give it to Jokic at this point. Maybe if he gets hurt, God forbid he gets injured, then all of a sudden we have something to talk about. Guy's averaging a triple-double, excellent ball handler. He could do pretty much everything on his own. He has led this team thus far, the best team in the Western Conference. What more can you ask of this guy? And that's why I think some of these analysts are trying to make some headlines here. But Kendrick Perkins, I don't know if you heard the comments. I was listening, and I'm just sitting there shaking my head, being like, how do you take away from this guy? He deserves the MVP.
Well, if you're going to say that, who is his argument to get MVP?
See, in the clip that I heard, he didn't name another player.
Yeah, well,
He was
then
specifically
you got
talking
no
about
argument.
them.
You got to give me like 4 guys then. If you're that staunch on that opinion, be like, well, this guy deserves it. This guy deserves it. Tell me who it is, because I don't really see who it could be.
If we are picking a number 2, we're going Giannis at this point, right?
I mean, Embiid is 2 in the odds. Giannis is 3. I mean, yeah, you can make a case for Giannis, but they've kind of played well without him at times this year.
I don't think Jason Tatum, if you're comparing, he's not
falling back.
Right. By the way, this Cavs Celtics game as well. Third game of the season series. However, they played their first 2 games back earlier in the season, very early on, both overtime games, actually. So it'll be interesting. The Cavs won both games, and I was considering maybe looking into this a little bit more. I ended up staying away. This spread was at 6.5. Now it's down to 5. But I was thinking the Cavs could still compete against this Celtics team. We've been talking about the Celtics team, whether or not they look the same, but Jaylen Brown is going to be in this game. So that's the difference. And the other difference with this Celtics team, unlike the last 2 games, they have Robert Williams now in there. And Robert Williams is a good defender. So we'll have to see what happens overall in this one. But 2 overtime games. I'm very excited about this one. Future potential playoff series. So that's something else that I was looking at a little bit earlier. But going back to Jokic, man, again, it's going to be hard convincing me that he doesn't deserve the MVP. You mentioned months ago how these voters could potentially want to find reasons to not vote him the MVP. And I think that you might be onto something with that. But I don't think those voters can really do anything that serves justice on why he's not deserving. He's just been an excellent player. The guy, again, averaging a triple-double. What more can you ask for? And the results are there. That team doesn't go much further or anywhere near where they are without Nikola Jokic. So, and this isn't exactly a super team. It's not. It's Jokic, and Jamal Murray is a good scorer, but who else is a stud, a star on that team? Aaron Gordon's been pretty good. We talked about that. Michael Porter, hit or miss on the production end. But outside of that, they have a bunch of average players then coming off the bench. So Jokic has been literally carrying this team to the top of the conference, man. I just don't see it. And we just named a few players. I'd still take Jokic over them.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic just makes his teammates better too, man. I mean, his passing, it's not just the scoring, it's everything he does. So he's got his team best record in the Western Conference. So don't see how, he doesn't get it.
Right.
And the odds say it. He's like minus 350, I think, now on DraftKings. Keeps moving.
Yeah, I mean, let's move on here. Speaking of moving here, we're going to have Matt Sells coming on a little vroom vroom NASCAR here, but we got to sneak in a small MLB preview. The Detroit Tigers, Ron, I was looking at where some of these players are going. We're talking about a team that's win totals at 70.5, minus 120 on the under, plus 100 on the over on DraftKings. Bottom 6 hitting team, but via batting average last season. And I mean, how much did they do really in the offseason? Is there anybody on this team that you are targeting in your drafts or that you've acquired thus far from the Tigers?
It takes Spencer Torkelson in a draft Champions League late. Look, they all had really bad years. They're moving in the fences a little bit. It's been a terrible park for offense. So, Riley Green's a young player that struggled. Javier Baez coming off a down year, but we know he strikes out a ton and the batting average is a risk. Austin Meadows is kind of interesting. He had a lot of issues going on in his personal life. So I think all these guys could be better, but none of them are really targets on the offensive end.
I mean, what Torkelson hit 203 last season, Meadows 250, Riley Green 253. Baez, like you said, with the strikeouts, he had led the team in home runs with 17, and that's it. And the ADPs are definitely reflecting this because Baez, being the prioritized Tiger, going at about over the last month in high stakes leagues, going at about the 162 mark, with Green going after just inside the top 200 there. I mean, besides some of the hitters that we talked about, I mean, any of the pitching that you like from this squad at all that you're going to go in on?
Maybe Eduardo Rodriguez to have a bounce back. I haven't taken him yet. But yeah, not really. Did take Alex Lang as a potential closer in one league. Not sure if he is the guy. It looks like he is. He had some walk rate issues, but they don't really have any great candidates in the bullpen. He does get a lot of strikeouts, but his walk rate is high, 11.4% last year. But I took him as my second closer in the league. The Tigers, there's not a lot here from a fantasy perspective.
Let me jog your memory a little bit. We were on another show last year, and do you remember what happened with Tarek Skubal while we were on that show? Do you remember what happened last year? Something I feel like we rarely see.
What?
He was ruled out, and I think there might have been a rain delay or something. He was ruled out, and then they ruled him back in. I'll never forget that. We were so confused. We couldn't believe, we thought this guy was out. We thought this guy wasn't pitching. They changed their minds and they put him back in. I feel like you rarely see that when it comes to pitching in baseball.
Yeah, no, I usually don't. But now I remember that. That usually never happens. I don't remember the details or exactly what they said. So
yeah, I think it was.
By the way, that Marvin Bagley double was plus 220 on FanDuel.
Wow, so it went up.
I guess.
Interesting.
I'm betting it anyway.
I like that, man. I like that. Yeah. Again, I was looking at that all day long here. And look, you kept the theme. Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
How much could we talk about this Tigers team? They're crap.
Yeah, there's not a lot here. I mean, again, you're hoping on some of these young players, improving. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, a guy like Akil Baddoo as well, who 2 years ago was good, disappointed last year. So they're all going to be cheap, and maybe you take a chance. Riley Green was very hyped last year and was hurt. Some power, some speed, maybe leads off. But, yeah, I mean, they're not targets. It all depends on where they fall in a draft.
Yep. And by the way, Adam Bernard was talking with me before, and he pretty much stole my line. I was going to say, if you notice, I never wear this, Ron. I didn't even realize I had this hoodie back in my closet.
And you were complaining that I got stuff and you didn't, but there it is. You had it.
New shirts, and I was a little bit jealous. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were.
As always, you realize you're wrong.
What do you mean I realize I'm wrong? I just admitted I was jealous.
When you say things during this show and you're like, I didn't say that, and then all of us are like, yeah, you did. We can go to the tape.
This time I am saying this. This time I am saying that I was wrong on that. But this is old. I got this a little while ago, man.
Mine was old too. I didn't get it recently. It's like when I first started.
Well, there's one shirt you have that I know you got in the last year.
In the last year?
I feel like
it was in person. It was probably at the expo.
Yeah.
Which you should have gotten one too.
And is there a sign or something like that? I'm not, why you get one, I don't get one here?
I'm trying to remember. Was it the expo? It was somewhere. But yeah, only one in the recent year.
They don't go with this color scheme on Fantasy Alarm, I feel like, anymore. They go with they still have gear that has it, but I feel like they go with the more red and white. That's what we saw with Grande's hat last week, James Grande's hat. So I feel like the colors changed, which is why I noticed that you had that new shirt. I'm like, wow, cool new shirt there. So that's something I noticed. But yes, nice little Fantasy Alarm sweatshirt. You want some gear, you go to fantasyalarm.com. It will be right there. Speaking of fantasyalarm.com, we're going to be talking with Matt Sells coming up here, the Pennzoil 400. Let's talk track. Let's talk DFS. Let's talk betting with the Sells, man. Maybe he'll have some insight as well regarding any Detroit Tigers player he would draft. It's the Playbook with Fensty and Ronis here on Bettor Sports Network.
Are you ready?
Join the show with one touch of a button. It's Sports Talk 3.0 on Bettor Sports Network.
As a longtime baseball fan, here's my message to other baseball fans, to steal a line from the Packers' future Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Everyone needs to relax after what we saw this past weekend as spring training games out in Arizona and down in Florida got going, and we're inching closer and closer to Major League Baseball opening day. The rule changes in Major League Baseball is not for myself. It's not for you out there, the hardened baseball fan, whether you're a fan 5, 10, 15, 30, or even 50 years. From all around this great country. It's not for those that are going to be locked in. It's for trying to generate more fans. So if they want the pitcher to go out there and work in rhythm with a guy on base, begin the windup within 20 seconds. Nobody on base, begin the windup within 15 seconds. Or have the batter make sure that he's back in the batter's box within 8 seconds. Then making the base pass first, second, and third bigger, eliminating the shift. All of this is to make the game better. We've seen leagues, whether it be the National Football League, do they get to the same league as it is today in 2023, or what we saw in 2022 as it was 30 years ago? No, it's not. Is NBA basketball the same? No. How many games do you see being played? 83-79 finals. You don't see that at all. So every league adjusts to try and bring what? More fans into the sport. And that is something that Major League Baseball is going out there and trying to do. I've been critical at times of Rob Manfred, whether or not as a MLB commissioner, whether he likes the sport based on some of the rhetoric that he has spewed in years gone by. But I got to be honest with you, as a longtime baseball fan, I've been a Yankee fan my entire life. Watched a ton of Met games here in the tri-state area. Watched baseball all around. Can't wait for October baseball. Think it's absolutely unbelievable what is transpiring now and what's happening now and the rule changes being brought about baseball. It's going to bring back to the game to when I became a fan, where the stolen base was something, moving guys over was something, having men on base, batting averages ascending, not being an all or nothing league where either you're striking out or hitting the ball over the fence. And that is what baseball is trying to do. So as everybody tries to adjust, and change is difficult, whether you're changing your diet, exercise routine, changing your relationships, changing a job, change is different. I get that. And it's hard. But let's take a step back. Let's understand what Major League Baseball is trying to do here. And they're trying to repopulate or repopularize the sport. That's what they're trying to do. They're clearly the third most popular sport in the United States. They want to make it less regionalized. This is the way they need to go about doing it. I'm all for it. For more content like this, download the Bettor Sports Network app or go to bettorsports.com.
I'm dropping the hammer.
The Playbook is making a pit stop in the world of NASCAR and looking ahead to this week's race with Fantasy Alarm's Matt Sells.
I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence. I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine.
Now back to Bettor Sports Network's own version of
Shake it back!
Justin Fensterman and Adam Ronis.
Back here on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network. If I asked our guest Matt Sells what movie those quotes are from, he wouldn't know because he's never seen Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, which just completely surprises me. Catch all his work on fantasyalarm.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Sellsman. Sells, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I do know that it's from Talladega Nights. I've just never seen the movie, but I know that, everybody knows Shake and Bake's from Talladega Nights.
You haven't seen Talladega Nights, though, Sells. That's the problem.
No. Doesn't mean I don't know the movie the lines from.
Can you watch the movie already? I mean, I know you're about to hit a little vacay, man. While you're on vacation, definitely watch that movie.
Do you want me spending 2 hours watching the movie, or you want me doing 2 hours doing the cheat sheet, updating the tools, updating rankings, updating NASCAR content?
I want what he's going to say.
Yeah, I want you to watch the movie. Come on.
Well, I think everybody who's paying for my stuff wants me to update the content.
Paying for the stuff. I love that. Sells, why don't you tell us about what's going on with Pennzoil 400 here, Vegas Motor Speedway? Why don't you describe that track?
Yeah, so it's a 1.5 mile intermediate track, so it's good smack right in the middle type track here. It's pretty decently banked. It is asphalt, so
yeah,
bonus. It's pretty decently banked. It's definitely not flat. So another check for Ronis. And they carry some pretty decent speed around this nice little track out there off the Las Vegas Strip. It's actually pretty far out there. Last time I saw it, I was flying over it in a plane leaving Vegas. So we should not have any weather concerns this weekend like we did in Southern California. So we should get practice and qualifying on Saturday for the Cup race. We do have a triple header race weekend. We have the Truck Series out there. We got Xfinity and we have Cup. So quite a lot of out there in Vegas this weekend.
Who are some of the high-priced drivers that you're targeting?
So at this point, it's basically impossible not to like Kyle Busch, right? He's gotten a ton of speed to start the season. He just came off a win at Auto Club and he made it look pretty easy. In fact, had the last stage gone caution free, he would have won by even more than he did with the help of the caution there. So, it's pretty hard to ignore the hometown kid. Normally, he doesn't do quite as well as we'd expect, but he's on a roll. He's going to have 3 races to get used to the track this weekend. And the last time he had a triple header sweep, it was in Vegas. So we're going to go with Kyle Busch being pretty hard to ignore this weekend.
Sells, who are some of the drivers that you're not going to be on? I know we focus a lot of our questions on who's going to be good value, which drivers you think are going to win, but we won't really talk about which drivers you're fading here. And what are some of the things in general, especially, I guess it's track dependent as well, but for this particular race at this track, what are you looking for when deciding whether or not to fade a driver?
So most of my fades are going to come after practice and qualifying. If a guy hasn't looked good and then qualifies well, probably not going to be as high on him because the odds of him falling back, considering the fact that practice is usually done in race trim and qualifying, they kind of trim the car out a little bit, add some more downforce. It's not usually all that. It's drivable for like a lap or two, right? And then after that, the handling starts to fall off. And you're not going to make a whole lot of race speed in qualifying trims. So guys who out qualify where you would expect them to qualify are guys that I typically don't like to play. Here, it is a starting position dependent track. There hasn't been a ton of passing here in recent races. So guys that are starting closer to the front are going to be guys that I'm going to play more. That doesn't mean the guys that are starting in the back are guys that I'm going to fade. It basically just comes down to, look, if you have stunk up the joint in the last, 8 races here, and then you come out and you qualify really well, probably just like, if that guy beats me, so be it, right? But the stats suggest he's not going to finish where he's starting. And if you add on top of that him being priced a little higher than maybe what you would normally expect, and as of right now, just checking, DK has not released prices yet for this weekend. They do have contests up, but they are reserved only. FanDuel does have pricing up, it appears. So, they're like Bubba Wallace is a guy that I may not like very much this weekend. He just hasn't run very well here previously. He did seem to have some overheating issues at Auto Club last weekend, which is another high speed intermediate track. So that has me a little bit concerned. But in terms of pure fades right now, it's basically going to be, look, if a guy qualifies above where you expect him to finish, I'm not playing him.
Who are some of the value drivers that you're looking to get in your lineups this week?
Yeah, so we've got, and again, this is mostly based on FanDuel because we don't have the values on DK yet, but Ryan Preece is a guy who had quite a bit of speed last week before he got caught up in a wreck at Auto Club. So he's a guy that I'm looking at. We can always look at Justin Haley and AJ Allmendinger, depending on where they start, because the Colleague Racing duo tends to have quite a bit of speed at the intermediate tracks. And then Harrison Burton is a guy that has had quite a bit of speed at these intermediate tracks. He just hasn't really had the finishes we would expect that speed to have. But if we're liking the speed that Joey Logano and Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney have, Harrison Burton is essentially a 4th Penske car. He races for the Wood Brothers team. They have an alliance with Penske, so Penske basically gives him the engines and technical support. So he's essentially driving a 4th Penske car. So if you like the Penske guys this week, Harrison Burton is a guy that you can play for a lot less than any of the other Penske guys are going for.
Hanging out with Matt Sells from fantasyalarm.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Sellsman. And Sells, I feel like it's been a few weeks here, but my boy, Billy Bye, What's been going on with him, man? I feel like we haven't even talked about him for a few races now.
Yeah, it's been a weird start to the season for him. Like, I expected him to be really, really good at Auto Club. That was a weird race from start to finish for a lot of guys. Just I don't know why, but it seemed to be a very weird race, and guys got caught up in wrecks that they should not have been caught up in. So it certainly wasn't the race we expected from William Byron, but the speed and the Hendrick Chevys are there, right? If you looked at the speed from Chase Elliott moving up from the back of the pack, that was there. William Byron was able to move up until he got caught up in issues. Alex Bowman had speed. Kyle Larson had so much car couldn't handle it because his engine blew up, and and then he finished, I don't know, 13 or 14 laps down. So I think there's speed there in Byron's car. We just need him to get the finishes going in the right direction.
Are there any bets that stand out so far that you like?
So there was one that I was very, very shocked at on DK when it opened, and it was Daniel Suarez to win. When it opened, it was at 50-1. It's now at 25-1, which tells you what the public thought of that line when it came out. Daniel Suarez was one of the fastest guys at intermediate tracks in the second half of last year, which is what we're looking at because that's when a lot of teams figured out how to really get speed going in their cars. He was also very fast at Auto Club last weekend and had the fourth best driver rating in the entire field. So for that guy, not very well at Vegas in the past couple of races. So for that guy to go off 50-1, shocking. He's now 25-1. I would probably still take it, but I'm not as big of a fan at 25-1. I just think there's less value there than there was to start. I already mentioned Kyle, according to DK Sportsbook at plus 600. Ross Chastain went toe-to-toe with him at Auto Club. The only problem is I don't trust finishes just yet. He kind of seems to be a win it or wreck it kind of guy. But if we're looking a little bit of sneaky picks, now again, this is going to be dependent on where guys start, which we don't know yet. But Austin Dillon has been there you go, has been running very in the past, and he's going off at top 5. That's a little interesting. We'll have to see where they start, but the RCR cars at intermediate tracks last year were very, very good. Off plus 650 for a top 5. If he's starting in the top 10, then that's a great line.
A couple more questions for Matt Sells here, our guest. He joins us every single week to talk NASCAR and some MLB as well. And hey, during NFL season was doing the game previews as well on the site. Sells, just out of curiosity, these driver props for the group winners, do you ever dabble in those at all?
Sometimes. It mainly depends on who the group is. And like was it Auto Club or Daytona? I think it was Daytona. They had a couple of groups where everybody had the exact same odds. So I was like, I'm out because there's no hedge, there's no benefit to betting that, right? I want to get a hedge. So some of these driver matchups are fun. They tend to do like the hot topic of the week for some of them. Like all of last year, they had Denny Hamlin versus Ross Chastain because they were feuding last year and always getting into scrapes on the track. But some of them are entertaining. Like this Kyle Larson versus Kyle Busch one on DK Sportsbook is interesting simply to get plus money on Larson. But again, he's had a little bit of a shaky start to the season, and Kyle Busch looks relatively untouchable right now. But the group winners, if I'm taking a quick peek, and again, we don't know where people are starting, so take this with a grain of salt. If the guy that I point out starts behind the others, it's going to make the bet a little tougher to hit. But I don't know. Daniel Suarez at plus 230 in Group D to beat Harvick, Bubba Wallace, and Eric Jones. That's not a bad return on a guy who should finish in the top 10 given the speed in the car.
How often do you look at like top 5, top 10, top 20? Are those things that you like to bet?
It depends on the track. Let me put it this way. Last August, before FanDuel got wise to what happens at Daytona, they allowed you to parlay top 10 finishes at Daytona, like a bunch of noobs at a sports book. And so people parlayed 4 or 5 dudes who were starting in the back, banking on chaos, and chaos happened, and a guy turned a $17 free bet into like nearly $1 million on FanDuel. So they don't let you parlay top 10 bets anymore. And they also got very wise on their top 10 odds so that like basically half the field is now negative money. So it took a little bit out of a little bit of juice out of those lines. I do look at top 5s sometimes. I'm more likely to bet a top 5 than a top 10 simply because I like the higher juice. And if I feel like a guy is on the border of a top 10 or a top 5 finish, I'll take the higher return. But it's basically race to race, and depending on what the line is on where a guy is starting as well.
Hanging out again with Matt Sells. Give him a follow on Twitter at the Sellsman. Catch all his work, fantasyalarm.com. Joins us every week. Sells, we need a name. Who's winning this race?
I got to go with Kyle Busch.
All right, there we go.
I mean, he's going to have the most amount of track time of anybody in the Cup field at that point because he's running all 3 races. Even if he didn't get the track time, it's his home track. And yes, typically he's done not great at his home track, but he's on a roll. He's rejuvenated this year, switching it up to the 8-car team and RCR and Chevy and all that. And the speed he's got in the car is just amazing. Like at Daytona, I know we say speed doesn't matter at Daytona, but that car was really fast at Daytona. It was really fast at the Clash. It was really fast at Auto Club. So that's 3 different types of tracks, and that car is still fast. And the car was fast last year too. So I'm going to take Kyle Busch.
You heard it here first, here on the Playbook. Sells likes Busch for this week. Sells, thank you so much again for stopping by, man.
Sure thing. Always a fun time.
Matt Sells, again, at the Sells, man, a good sport. Always love hanging out with him. We go from one awesome guest to another awesome guest here. Let's talk with Rick Kamla. The Cam man, Ricky Props here, is going to be joining us to talk a little NBA. Kevin Durant coming back here. Is he going to play 25 minutes? We'll get Kamla's take. He's on right after us with Lisa Ann for Bettor Sports Live. It's Playbook with Fantasy and Ronas here on BSN.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Washington Commander fans, it's time to rejoice. The day you've been waiting for seems like it's finally on the way. And you know what day I'm talking about. No, not the next time you have a parade down Constitution Avenue. That's still years away. But the day you get to say goodbye to the man who has owned that franchise since 1999. It's Daniel Snyder. You know it well because he's been the worst owner in sports in the 24 years he's owned that football team. That once proud franchise, the Washington Redskins, the Hogs, the championships, Doug Williams, Joe Gibbs. Now what you have left behind? Memories of Albert Hainsworth. How did that work out? Horrible free agent signings, not to mention the scandals. Just this past 18 months alone, the horrible reveal of the Commanders' team name when everybody knew who it was the day before. Oh, that Sean Taylor statue, that gimmick, that joke. How about the touchdown celebration of the mascot, the Tutty? That was horrible. You keep getting in your way, time and time again. The best thing you had for your fan base this offseason was hiring them an offensive coordinator. And now the later scandals, financial misconduct, all these things you got going on. Yet you want Roger Goodell in the NFL to look the other way while you negotiate your sale of the team on your terms. It don't work like that. Only person you've really got on your side is Jerry Jones, and it's not going to be enough. So go ahead, Daniel Snyder. Do the right thing. Sell the team, go on about your business. Don't worry about this no more. The fan base deserves better. You've done a lot to tear this situation down. It's just time to walk away. Don't try to negotiate your own terms. Do the right thing and give the Washington, D.C. natives give the people inside the Capital Beltway their team back. You can find more contents like this at Bettor Network on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
You see the growth in his team. When Monty took over, when James came here, I see the culture started to change. The way they played on the floor, the energy they played with started to change. And I always loved playing here in Phoenix. The fans always showed love to good basketball in general. They always cheer their fans on, but they show love to the opposing team as well. So I knew this would be a great place to play and a great place to continue to get better as a player. You got somebody like Devin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton, guys that work, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I'm excited I'm here. I'm looking forward to trying to add as much as I can to the group already. Like I said, they've built themselves up and built the structure and the infrastructure up for themselves already, and I'm looking forward to adding to it.
Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
He's arrived. Happening tonight, the long-anticipated debut of Kevin Durant in a Suns uniform. Just how much of Durant are we going to be able to see tonight? We've got that DraftKings promo boost right there. Rona's talked about that before. You could join, by the way, Lisa Ann and Rick Camlin for Bettor Sports Live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Lisa Ann and Rick are talking pro and college hoops, including futures betting for the NBA and NCAA tournament. Call in and talk sports with Lisa Ann and Rick Camlin on Bettor Sports Live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on the Bettor Sports Network app and at bettorsports.com. And joining us with a nice fire tan, per the usual, jealous of it. I need more sun, Rick. You don't. It's Rick Camlin. Rick, what's going on, man? You ready for KD? And I don't think we can hear Rodas. Can you hear what Rick is saying?
Pardon me. No. I made the decision over the weekend, guys, to work on my tan. I had some days off. I had some time off. We went to the zoo, got a bunch of sun. I went golfing with my father-in-law, got a bunch of sun. We were hanging out at the ocean, getting a bunch of sun. So it's fun down here in Florida. You can just say, I want to be, because I do like working on the tan, right? I mean, it's good for your skin. It's good for your being out in the sun. The whole thing. But anyway, guys, I'm stoked for KD tonight. I wish it was a better matchup. It's at Charlotte, right? Like, I'm not touching this game from a prop bet scenario because Durant's getting the whales getting splashed into their rotational swimming pool. I want to see how that all vets. And so I don't really think the fourth quarter will be required from the Suns. They're probably going to be smashing the Hornets at that point. No PJ Washington, no LaMelo Ball. We know that the pursuit of victor is on in Charlotte. So, but I'm stoked to see KD play with this team.
All I need from Kevin Durant tonight is 15 points and 1 3. Can he get it?
You need 15 points and 1 3 from Durant. What is that scenario?
There's a DraftKings boost. So Durant needs to score 15 points or more, hit 1 3, and the Suns win plus 100.
And the Suns win, and I like all of that because, I like all of that a lot. To me, that's like, I won't go too far with the words, but that's a really, really good investment. The one thing, Durant has never hit. StatMuse put out a great stat. In his 3 debuts with 3 different teams, he's never gone over like 27 points. I think 29. He's never hit 30 plus in a debut. And I think that kind of speaks to like who he is. He's not like a crazy alpha, right? He's an alpha, but he's like a cool, chill alpha. And so he's going to want to come in, I think, and blend in and move the ball and see others smile and enjoy his presence and that kind of thing. I don't think he's going to be out there just chucking and trying to rack up numbers. I think he's actually going to be more in like sacrificial, selfless mode tonight. So I don't know what the prop is on Durant. I just punted the whole game, based on I think it's going to be a blowout. So that just kind of disqualifies the game for me. But if it's 25.5, I would go under on Durant tonight.
It's actually 20.5 on DraftKings.
See, that's right there, right? He's probably going to be right around that. I don't see any push and tug value for me there. How about you guys? You guys see an angle there?
I'm not betting this prop. If anything, I'd rather bet the boost that Ronas was talking about before.
I like it.
Down the points a little bit. He needs the 1-3. If the Suns lose this game, it'll be one of the biggest upsets of the season.
It'd be Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. I mean, it'd be a crazy upset.
That's a good comp right there because that's exactly how I feel. Rick, let me ask you about the Detroit Pistons situation because another prop that Ronas and I are in on, plus 180 for a double-double for Marvin Bagley And the reason is because you don't have Stewart, Duran, Livers, and yeah, Bogdanovich is going to play, but still, you got to be thinking that Bagley should be able to play some power forward minutes. And Chicago, they give up a lot of rebounds, power forwards, but ultimately, when it comes down to this guy, he's been good the last couple of games. And it's not just barely making the double-double. He's been rebounding very well. And I saw his double-double at plus 180 on DraftKings. It's actually at, plus 220 on FanDuel. And I just thought it just stood out immediately and looked perfect. What do you think about that and how the Pistons are going to be rotating their big men tonight?
I'm right there with you. Bagley, I believe, I've been picking him up in fantasy leagues all over the place. I believe he's gone 20-10 the last 2 games, or at least he's flirted with it. He's really caught my eye. And look, with the injuries and with the scenarios that you presented, the playing time is going to be there. And in terms of motivation, here we go again with Marvin Bagley, right? Missing a huge chunk with injury. So he's going to try to ball out and, because he's really talented. I mean, he was a Duke 2nd overall pick. This guy doesn't suck, right? He's just been hurt all the time and been in like weird situations, but this isn't weird. I mean, Wiseman is getting a lot of minutes and he's starting to produce, hovering around a double-double. But I feel better about Bagley. Bagley's just a better basketball player than James Wiseman. I feel like, Detroit is invested in Wiseman. They reportedly chose investing in Wiseman long-term as opposed to Sadiq Bey long-term. But Bagley's been there longer. They like him a lot. They just paid him. And so I think there's going to be thrust to get him on the court, play him 30 minutes, see what he can do with this open playing time right here. So I'm right there with you. I think Bagley at a double-double tonight, plus 180 is a real good wager.
Luka and Kyrie, 1-4 and playing together, the only win over San Antonio. Is this just a matter of them acclimating to playing with each other? Do you see them being able to make a run in the playoffs, or is this team just maybe a first-round exit?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, look, I think they'll get there, but I don't think it's a lock. With the Minnesotas, maybe, I don't know. There's just so many teams in the middle there. But, if New Orleans gets healthy, guys, I really think they could shoot up. If Portland gets healthy, I think they could shoot up a little bit. But I'm sorry, Ronas. Who'd you ask me about?
Dallas.
Dallas.
With Kyrie and Luka.
The problem with Dallas, Adam, is they're giving up 122 points per game in the 2 games with Kyrie and Luka. I did the math today for my NBA radio show. And I looked at like the games they played together. It's 122 points per game allowed. You're watching the Laker game and that comeback, right? And you're like, oh my God, their defense is so piss poor. Last night, right? They're trying to make this comeback against Indiana, hitting big shots and, getting the crowd into it. And then Indiana, like Nebhard and all these guys are just cooking them, right? I mean, Halliburton's obviously a monster. He cooked them last night. But their defense absolutely sucks. And I'm not putting that just on Kyrie and Luka. And by the way, Kyrie's a decent defensive player. Luka, we already know. I'm not putting it all on them. Like, they're getting bludgeoned by all positions and all players, and it's across the board, and it's threes, and it's twos, and it's pain points, the whole thing. So their defense is dilapidated. Frankly, I see a powdered up basketball team when it comes to their star. I think Kyrie Irving's down there with a great attitude, trying to kick ass, take names, win. Luka's like, have you guys been watching the games and seeing how powdered up he is going back to the sideline? And he just, I'm not going to say he doesn't look happy in general, but like his body language in games is not great. You just brought this thing together. I know losses are coming. You're missing shots and all this kind of stuff's going haywire. Slap a smile on your face. Like, you know what I mean? Because you got Kyrie. And so when you got Kyrie, it could get weird. So I would just like play it straight, but he can't play it straight. He's always barking at the refs. Woe is me. I love Lucas, phenomenal player, but I don't think his attitude is fully like locked in right now. I think he's feeling sorry for himself for whatever reason.
And that's sad, Rick, because this was my MVP going. We talked about it multiple times, and I just thought that as long as the Mavs could stay out of the play-in tournament, then he would win the MVP. And yeah, I mean, did I think that maybe he could still get it with Kyrie there? I thought, well, at least from a record standpoint, it should protect him a little bit more. But it seems to be that they're just, I don't want to say they're too similar, but they're both scoring dominant guards. And that's what happens in the backcourt. You look at a team like Phoenix, Chris Paul doesn't want to shoot the ball. He's had to a little bit because of injuries. He wants nothing to do with shooting the ball. It's perfect. Him and Devin Booker, perfect marriage. This is very questionable right here because they're both ball dominant. They're both scores and complete volume scores. So, yeah, there are going to be times when one's going to be pissed in the game and the other's going to be loving life because of the stats. And, Rick, I got to ask you this, you're shifting gears. The New York Knicks, the team, you hear very little positivity overall over the last 20 years about this team. All of a sudden, though, over the last few weeks, they have been hot. Now, look at their schedule. Look at the teams they've beaten. Not a truly impressive resume. They had a couple of good wins. Do you think this team, let's say the Knicks, right now, if the season ended today, let's say they matched up against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. Let's say maybe they fall, they stay out of the play-in tournament, they match up against the Sixers. Do you think the Knicks can beat either one of those teams in a 7-game series?
I don't. But I love what I'm seeing from the Knicks. We had this conversation, I believe, yesterday on NBA radio about are you starting to look at the Knicks like a second-round team? And, guys, I'll give you my two-pronged answer here. When I watch the Knicks play, I see a second-round basketball team. They're clutch. They play hard. They're hustling. There's a love fest. They're getting good at home after being crappy at home the beginning of the year. They're playing consistent basketball, and Josh Hart's been an awesome shot in the arm for this basketball team. They look like a second-round team. And then you look at the standings, and lo and behold, they're on track to play Cleveland in the first round. And the guy that they should have gone after is going to knock them out in the first round because star power wins in the playoffs. That's why Trae Young knocked the Knicks out 2 years ago. They had a better star. Donovan Mitchell, I love Jalen Brunson. That's my guy. And I'm a Julius Randle appreciator. You guys know the most of Nick Nation does not appreciate him either at all or enough. I do. The guy's 20, 10, and 5 every night. That stat line is rare, guys. But Cleveland has more star power. New York does not have a core four. Cleveland does. Allen, Mobley, Garland, Mitchell. They have more star power. But I think it'd be a hell of a series, 6-7 games. But I would, at the end of the day, they got Donovan Mitchell. They got the best killer in that series. And so here we are, guys. All these months later, the Knicks could have traded for Donovan Mitchell, did not. And here we are. They're probably going to play in round one of the NBA playoffs. And I believe Don is going to be the one driving the final stake into the heart of Dracula, a.k.a. the New York Knicks. How about that NBA story for you?
Are the Clippers making a mistake starting Russell Westbrook?
Great question. No. Russell Westbrook's numbers have been really, really good. Guys, in 3 games with the Clippers, he's going 50, 40, 90. Just want to let pregnant pause to let that sink in, right? He's going like 16, 6, and 9 with 2.3 steals. Been super consistent, like always hovering around 50%, right? He hasn't had like a 28% game and then a 70% game. He's been always around 50%. He's been very good, very consistent, playing hard. He had 4 turns last night, which were an issue, but the team turned it over 25 times. He had 4 of their 25. There were 21 other turnovers. I think people are focused on the wrong stuff with the Clippers. Eric Gordon does not have a point in the last 2 games in 32 minutes. Marcus Morris has gone, whoop, he has shrunk. Terrence Mann, obviously, not activated now that he's coming off the bench. Norman Powell last night was 4 of 14. Kawhi Leonard last night had a bad shooting game, but it's Russell Westbrook's fault. And Adam, I'm not saying you're saying that. I caught a lot of that on Twitter last night, like banging on Russ. Like, are you even watching the games? Like, that's literally not what's happening right now. It's collective blame. They've lost 3 in a row, but let's analyze the 3-game losing streak. They take an L, 176, 175, flip a coin, act of God game. Okay. They go to Denver and lose by 10. Everybody loses by 10 or more in Denver. They're 28-4 at home. And last night's loss was a bad loss at home to Minnesota. You got to crank them, right? But they didn't. Okay. They've got 1 bad loss in the Russell Westbrook era so far. You guys know how it is. Russ is a hot button guy. I think people are jumping to conclusions a little early. Look, Justin, in the Cam Dynasty, right? Our Dynasty League, Russell Westbrook was dropped. I scooped him up immediately. And I'll tell you, I am damn happy with these numbers, man. 16, 6, and 9. He's hitting threes, getting steals. He's been efficient. Like, yes, this is even better than I had planned when I scooped him up off waivers.
I hear you, man. And it's just the one, I'm a little bit sour grapes regarding Russ because I actually thought he was going to go over 15.5 points. I bet that last night. But for the early part of the game, he wasn't shooting. That was a problem. And I was frustrated. And some of these guys lately that I've been looking at, the Reddishes of the world, him, and who was it? Isaiah Joe as well. Someone who had been shooting. All of a sudden, they stopped shooting, these players. Or they don't start shooting until the second half. So we were playing catch up, almost made it, just missed it by 1.5 for that. But yeah, I mean, I was telling Roan too, I mean, with this addition, if there's any team that he could fit on, it's this team because they can afford his being instant offense because they have so much defense on that team. So I think because you have a lot of shooters, you can have him doing the other stuff, penetrating, causing the defenses to collapse, and then he kicks it back out to one of his open teammates for a higher percentage shot. That's why I love the addition so much. Rick, what's coming up on the big show tonight with you and Lisa Ann?
Well, we've got what's more likely. We'll attack a lot of the NFL news coming out of the combine. Ricky props. I've got a Tyler Hero vibe tonight, a Donovan Mitchell vibe tonight. Like you, Fensty, and Roan, I do dig into the role players. I've got a Cole Anthony prop for you. What other role player? We got a Malik Beasley prop for you tonight. A bunch of unpredictability, as always, with the great Lisa Ann. We're going to put it together at 7 o'clock tonight, man, and have a blast.
Bettor Sports Live coming up right after us, 7 p.m. Eastern. A lot of fun, great conversation, good energy. Normally, as I'm watching you guys, I'm like eating dinner very quickly, preparing for doing all of the work, eating my edamame and just enjoying life, hanging with you guys. It's just, I like shows with good energy. I like that. That's always been me. And that's something that both you and Lisa bring every single time you're on. So it's great being your opening act. Thank you so much again, Rick, for joining us again.
Appreciate those comments right there, Fensty, right back at you. Good luck tonight, guys, and we will talk next week in this time slot.
You too, my man. Rick Kamla Sports there. I love this description on Twitter. Paid to talk sports buddy, because that's what he is. He's a buddy. He's a good guy. And Lisa and Adam Ronis' former co-host coming up next on Bettor Sports Live. Let's turn down the mood just a little bit. We're going to get back to some NBA props, but it's Wednesday, and we're pissed off. Adam Bernard, our producer, he's pissed off. Normally, I'm like, hey, AB, you got something for piss? I didn't even have to do that. He's giving off multiple pissed vibes for today. I'm very excited about that. The Roman hopefully has something. I got something as well. The rite of passage on Wednesdays is pissed, and it's the playbook with Fensty and Ronis here on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
People are always very critical when it comes to fantasy baseball. I would say this, and I'm a big fantasy basketball guy. I love fantasy football. There's no fantasy sport that's even close to being as hard as baseball. The season, having to figure out, especially if you're playing weekly, which I don't like to play. Weekly with the 2 starts, having to look at the schedule and everything. I mean, you play in basketball as well. There's no fantasy sport that's harder or more involved than baseball. It takes forever. You take a whole night to do your fab on Sundays.
Yeah, baseball is the most challenging, and I think that's why the popularity has gone down. People don't want to work. They don't want to put in the time. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to know the player pool. That's why I love doing these 15-team, 50-round drafts. I mean, 750, 800 players. You lower all the minor leaguers. I took Spencer Strider last year in my first draft Champions League in like round 40, and that turned out to be a phenomenal pick. So it puts you on to knowing everything about every team. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I definitely think that it's a challenge, and I just feel like people don't want to put in time and work anymore. And I'm not saying fantasy football is easy. It's not. But you cannot tell me that fantasy football is more difficult than fantasy baseball. I play both sports. I don't have an allegiance to either one. I love both. I play both. But, fantasy baseball is a grind, man. You got to put in months of preparation. Spring training is important. It helped me get Carlos Rodon a couple years ago. I was not on him until the spring, seeing the velocity and the changes. So there's a lot of things you can discover in the spring. And this is the first real full spring training that we've had in years. Now, there is the WBC that is going to cut into it a little bit, and some guys will not be at camp. But the spring can help you discover. And again, you're talking about, even if you're in a 12-team league, I mean, you're probably going to have 23 to 30 roster spots. And then the 15-team leagues and the minor leagues, I mean, you got to know a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of skill to win a fantasy baseball title. We've seen it, right? You can have like an average player win a fantasy football league. Like we've all been in leagues where like, yeah, this guy's not that good. He's probably going to win a championship at some point. Things break right. He has a great draft, picks up a player off the waiver wire. That's not happening in fantasy baseball, man. You do not see bad players win fantasy baseball championships. You just don't. It's a 6-month season. You know, you can't afford to take a week or two off from Fab. You can't do it. Last year, say you took off the week where Taylor Ward was the big pickup. You lost a player that was a contributor most of the season. I know we had a couple of down periods, and Taylor Ward was a player I added in multiple leagues, but you can't take that time off. You can't afford to miss out. And, you know, every little detail is important. So I know fantasy baseball is not as popular as it used to be, but I personally feel it's because people don't want to work hard. They just don't. Everyone wants the easy way out now. They want easy access. That's why people don't read anymore. They want a quick video. Fantasy baseball is a lot of work, trust me. But you know what? When you win a championship, it's really gratifying.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
I'm not mad. No! I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You see, whenever I get angry, I just recite this little poem, calms me down. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? You know, that really grinds my gears. I'm feeling very angry about that. I'm enraged. You know what I do when I'm mad, Paul? I hit a pillow. Just hit the pillow. See how you feel. Feel better? Yeah, I do.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Justin Fenster and Adam Ronis back with you here on the Playbook on BSN. Let's talk about what we're pissed off about before we talk NBA props for the night. We've already given you a couple that we like, including that Marvin Bagley double-double at plus money on the books. Very good prop for tonight, being that the Detroit Pistons have a lot of their front court that are hurt right now too. So that's a good odds right there for that prop. I'm excited for it. Rona's also liking the Kevin Durant boost that he also saw on DraftKings as well. But let's talk about what's been frustrating us as of lately. We all need to vent, and you guys can vent too. I say it all the time. You have something you want to vent about in regards to sports, any of your fantasy teams, a bet that you thought you were going to hit that you ended up not hitting for whatever reason. You can either put it in the comment section here in our chat, or you can hit the call button and give us a call. Let us be your therapist. Well, maybe you don't want that from us, but we'll still talk it out with you and make you feel a little bit better. But man, I've been waiting for this because, like I said, our producer, Adam Bernard, he's back. He's ready for Pissed. He's got a couple of things here. We're going to let the resource AB, Adam Bernard, lead off Pissed today. AB, welcome back to the show. And what's pissing you off?
I got two things. One, I would say more miffed than pissed because it ended up kind of getting worked out in the end. But let's start with the NHL. And there's been a lot of good moves over the past week. Of course, the big one, the Patrick Kane to the Rangers. But now Friday's trade deadline is going to be a dud. It is going to suck. Like this year's NBA trade deadline is usually what the NHL trade deadline is. Fast and furious, deals coming in, tough to keep up, who's going where. There's one decent name left on the board, and Eric Carlson in San Jose. But as the People's Board Op pointed out in a conversation, that's more likely to happen at the draft when teams have more cap space because that's a long contract. Like, it's just the NHL trade deadline day is one of my favorite days of the year, and pretty much all the fizz has been taken out of it. It's like the soda's not quite flat, but you can tell it's going flat.
Wow, just like that. I mean, I know you want it on that deadline day. Some people think around the trade deadline, they include the days leading up to it too. But I get what you're saying, man. When the clock is ticking and you're down to the final couple hours, you're down to the final half hour, who's going to get their dealing under the wire? That adrenaline rush, man, that's why, like you with NHL, NBA trade deadline day is one of my favorite days of the year. It's always, this year was a lot of fun, a lot of players moving. AB, I got to ask you, while we have you, before we get to your next pissed here, what did you think, being a Rangers guy? What did you think of your Rangers trading for Patrick Kane?
I think it makes them a better team, but not in an area that they need it to be better. It doesn't address their defense. And while I get it is super exciting to get one of the best hockey players of all time on your team and all that, this is not Patrick Kane of 2013. And I think there's a lot of Ranger fans out there that have this like vision of him going back to 2013 Patrick Kane. And yes, he's going to get rejuvenated in New York. There's definitely going to be an uptick in his play. He's definitely going to score and contribute, but I don't think he's going to contribute to the level that a lot of people are maybe mistakenly assuming he will get to again. And I just, again, it doesn't help with an area they need his defense. And in the playoffs, you can't win by outscoring teams 5-3, 6-3 every night. You need to be able to clamp down and play defense. Igor Shesterkin has not played the way he has last year. Defense hasn't been great. Yes, adding Kane is exciting, but it doesn't address the need. It's like putting mashed potatoes on a plate where you already had French fries when you got Vladimir Tarasenko 2 weeks ago.
Wow, I don't think I've ever done that before, Roan. You ever do that?
I'm sure you have. Don't
what is that? Why? Short. Why? What does that mean? They're the same thing. I'd rather have the fries.
No, you do weird things with food, as we know.
Oh, 1,000%. I have my Fensty scrambles and everything when I take things in the fridge, combine them, and it makes a nice little salad. That's what you got to do, Roan. I can't be a big baller like you and going to the Italian spot that Frank Isola loves so much every single week.
It's a phenomenal spot.
Absolutely. AB, what else are you pissed about?
It was just, it's fantasy trade deadline week as well in one of my leagues. And, I understand there's posturing and there's offers back and forth, but I feel like with certain people that you've been in a league with for a long time, we need to skip certain steps of like this ridiculous counter offers and stuff like that. We ended up working it out, but I just hate that stuff. Like, I understand you want to try with somebody new and maybe take advantage of them, but it's like, come on, dude, we've been in the same league for how many years? And that the counter offer was just absurd, considering all the circumstances. And you caught me literally about 5 minutes after I got the counter offer earlier today. So that's why I was pissed.
Ron, we see that a lot in our fantasy basketball league that you run. There are a couple of those teams that make these god-awful trade offers. One of them doesn't stop. I could search my email.
I think the trade deadline passed, didn't it?
Yeah, but I'm talking before.
No, I know.
1,000 offers from this one team, not even close. It's like he wants to unload his crap on me for no reason. You know which team I'm talking about, the East Coast Slamma-Jammas. Yeah. And I just didn't understand any of these offers. It's so funny that I could get 80 trade offers in about a 3-month period and not even come close to liking any of them, Roan. I don't know if he was hitting you up for trades a lot. I kept getting offers. He kept trying to get LaMelo Ball away from me. Hindsight, I probably should have just gave it to him for nothing.
He's also going to the playoffs. You're not.
That's true. Thanks for reminding me. I can't figure this league out. That's what I'm pissed about, too. I can't figure this league out.
You act like it's so complicated.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I think my team is good. I'm gonna have to do next year. And I'm telling you all right now, Roan, you triggered me a little bit here. Next year, and I've made this mistake the last 2 years now, and I told you I wasn't gonna do this, and then I went back on my word and I freaking did it. And I'm so stupid. I am not drafting a player who is a player that gets chronically injured or a player that is injured going into the season, like LaMelo Ball. I did it with Anthony Davis, and now I get LaMelo Ball, and I learned my lesson.
That's not the sole reason.
It's not the sole reason, but it's a big reason. So, and I need my star players out there, and I'm not doing that. I'm not taking any risks. My team, I'm going to go with a safety approach next year. And something else I'm going to do, and this goes against my overall strategy, because in your league, the rosters, the benches are deep. I got to go in a little bit more aggressively on waivers in those first 3 weeks. Normally, Roan, I like to kind of wait it out for a few weeks to see what exactly my weaknesses are. I can't do that in your league. I got to be ready to spend after the second week so I can get that season-long stud, because it's a very competitive league, number one. Number two, with the big benches, it's hard to find that guy that's going to be a good season-long guy instead of just a short-term solution. Those are two things that I'm going to improve on going into next season. And hopefully, man, I can sniff the playoffs, because I'm 0 for 3 now with making the playoffs in your home league. And it really, really pisses me off. You couldn't tell.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I hate it. I hate it. And then you could hold this over me. You could hold it over my head like a dark cloud. And I hate it and I can't stand it because all I want to do is make the playoffs and compete and show you. And you then are laughing at me. I don't make the playoffs. You're a broadcast partner on the Cash It podcast. Howard Bender is even in on it from fantasyalarm.com. And I can't even pretend like I'm not mad. I'm mad. Okay. I'm tired of this because in my home league, which, by the way, some of our colleagues, before you call it a nursery school league, some of our colleagues from Fantasy Alarm are in that league. That league, I pretty much make the playoffs every single year. No problem. Different format and everything like that. But still, this league, I got to make the playoffs. If I lose 8-1 to you in the semifinals, yeah, that would suck. But still, I got to at least baby steps. I got to get into the playoffs here. I'm tired of finishing between 7th and 9th every single year. Every year. I'm tired of it, man. And I'm changing my strategy. I'm going against my 20-year fantasy basketball strategy for this league next year. I'm fired up. Let's get to the draft next year, Ro.
I mean, I kind of heard this a couple years in a row now, so.
You didn't hear that I was changing my entire strategy.
Nah.
You heard that I wasn't going to draft the injured player, and then I drafted.
No, I heard I got to get to the playoffs. Blah,
well, that I did.
Blah.
I want to get to the playoffs, man. Trust me, I'm frustrated. I want to get to the playoffs, dude. It really frustrates me, and you know it frustrates me, and you can use it as a weapon against me anytime you want, and I can't say S about it.
Yeah, you really can't.
No. Damn. Just, oh. What about you, Roan? Let me get a couple minute break here.
All right. I don't have anything major, but I will say there are people complaining about baseball's new rules. I know we don't like change, but at least just give it a chance before you completely dismiss it. We've obviously seen the numbers. The games are speeding up. It never bother me. I like being at games. I don't mind watching. But it's more about trying to get new people to watch. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I just said, I just think you should be patient and give it an opportunity before judging it. I think a lot of people are reluctant for change. They don't want something new. Just give it some time. And I know we saw the walk-off walk where the pitcher got called for a ball and all that. I don't think you're going to see that happen. I hope not. I don't want to see games end like that. I mean, that's what the spring is for. So people get used to it. We've already seen pitchers change their delivery. Scherzer is even like, hey, it's an advantage for me. I'm going to mess with the hitters more. So I think just be patient and give it a chance before knocking it.
There's one rule that I don't like, and it's not even one that was instituted this year. The one rule I do not like, and I don't think I'll ever like, and I don't care if the Mets benefit 85 times from this year, I still won't like it. The whole ghost runner and extras, man. That's the thing that's the one thing I can't stand. The reviews are excellent so far, seeing how much time has gotten cut down from these games. Very good. Maybe it does attract some of the people that are in their early 20s that want that instant gratification. Just the ghost runner, man, I just think it changes too much. It really just does. And I don't like it. I know they want to speed up the game, but they've done other things to help speed up the game. And that's why I was a little bit disappointed that the ghost runner was still kept intact going into this year.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just, it takes certain control out of teams' destinies when you're putting a guy on second. You've made all these changes. Why did you have to keep that one? It's frustrating. That's the one thing that's frustrating to me. The one rule. Everything else that we've seen, yes, nobody likes change. And baseball goes way back to the 1800s. But things change. Things absolutely change. And we got to change and adjust with the times. And that's how it goes. You want your sport of baseball, for all of you baseball old heads out there, not you, Rome, but even the guys that are the next generation.
Oh, I had one other thing.
Yes.
The damn Thunder and their stupid rotations. What the hell are you guys doing, man? I mean, I get it. They're probably close to tanking, even though they're still right there for a playoff spot. They played 10 guys last night. 4 of their starters played 22 minutes or fewer. Isaiah Joe, 22 minutes? I know we had a prop on him, so we're bitter, but the guy's been lighting it up. And you play him 22 minutes? Josh Giddey, 19 minutes? Lou Dort, 21 minutes? Dario Saric gets 27? Kendrick Williams, 29? Wiggins, 29? I mean, they had 5 guys off the bench all play at least 21 minutes. 3 of them played 27 minutes or more. I mean, what are you guys doing, man? So, and I already bet a prop on one of their players tonight, and I probably shouldn't. This is going to be the last straw. If they burn me tonight, I'm done with the Thunder.
I'm guessing this is a Lou Dort prop.
No, it's not.
Wow. Okay. I can't wait to hear who it is then. I'll say this, Ron. You've got me all. I mean, it's not like I have this guy on any of my teams, but you have me paranoid for the season-long fantasy basketball player, that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's in the health and safety protocol.
Yeah, he's got 17 injuries now.
Bro, I think you might be onto something with this, man. You said it. You were the one that said it. If it happens, I will give you all the freaking credit in the world. You said it. It's happened before with Gilgeous-Alexander. He could get shut down
last year.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? I guess, yeah, man, because, okay, so the Spurs, Rockets, Pistons, Hornets all have a worse record. Then OKC is 3rd worst in the West at 28-33. Then you got the Magic at 26-36, and they've been playing well, 6-4 in their last 10. So there's a chance that OKC is 5th worst. Maybe that's what they're looking at right now in the NBA.
For them. Yes, the double-digit percentages for who can get the first overall pick goes 5 deep.
I wonder if they're looking at that, man.
But here's the thing. Can I just ask you about this? So Victor Wembanyama is the prize of this draft, right? But they've got Chet Holmgren. I know.
Yeah, but even what if they get the 2nd pick?
That's true. I mean, then it's fine. They could always trade it down and get a King's ransom.
Right, and they already have 75 picks.
Right. I just wonder with some of these teams if they.
But I'm saying because look at it though, they're probably like, all right, well, great. We get in the playing game. Then what? We're going to lose anyway. So let's just bottom out. Because I don't even think they thought they would be in this position most of the year. I think them and Utah did not expect to be in this spot. I mean, Utah just lost to San Antonio.
By the way, you talked about the Thunder all season being a sneaky, decent defensive team, which has probably kept them above water a little bit. But now, man, again, with Shai, I'm starting to feel that vibe, dude. Another few losses, he might be done.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, so just be prepared. Those getting ready for your fantasy basketball playoffs, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on your team. You better start looking on that wire to get replacements for at least points, rebounds, assists. You're going to have a lot to make up for, so don't wait. I wouldn't say drop the guy right now, but I would start preparing. And if there are any players that you have rotating and you can look at a guy on the Thunder that's been getting more minutes, maybe a good investment at this point to hedge on the Thunder if you have Gilgeous-Alexander, because we're not saying that it's for sure going to happen, but at this point, wouldn't be surprised.
And the worst part is, man, if you bet him for most improved, ooh, boy, that is falling apart. I think I glanced at it today, and I think Markkanen's like minus 200 now or something like that.
What's Brunson at? You were talking about him yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's check that out because that could be something that – I mean, because, again, when Markkanen, if the Jazz fall off, I mean, do they – potentially sit him? Probably. I guess it would be at the end, but then again, they might be like, you know what, let's push to have him win this most improved.
Right.
So Markkanen's minus 280, SGA's plus 300, Brunson's plus 400.
Interesting. Not bad odds right there for Brunson. You were talking about that yesterday, and you can catch all the Playbook shows with BSN on demand. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensterman. We're done with Pissed and thinking of things that make us happy. Coming up right after us here, Bettor Sports Live. Fun show. We had Rick Kamla on before he could join Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla, 7 p.m. Eastern. They'll talk pro and college hoops, including futures betting for the NBA and the NCAA tournament. Call in and talk sports with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern for Pacific, right after us on the Bettor Sports Network app and at bettorsports.com. Let's sink our teeth into the rest of the NBA slate for tonight. We'll talk some props coming up on the Playbook on BSN.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network. Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Calvin Ridley yesterday, he applied for reinstatement from the National Football League.
Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. That is crazy potent on offense.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, Ridley's great.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I want in fantasy this year.
I think you're probably right. I think they're just going to get better and better. First off, Peterson's a wonderful offensive mind, a great head coach, and we've seen that and saw that this year as Jacksonville made it to the postseason. And Trevor Lawrence, anybody that questioned whether or not he could play in the National Football League or just how good he was going to be in the NFL, those questions were answered this past season as in the second half of the year. Statistically speaking, he was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. That's how good Trevor Lawrence is. You throw Calvin Ridley into the mix, he's going to be great. Yeah, I think Lawrence is a guy you want. I think Ridley's a guy you want. Clearly, Travis Etienne is going to be one of those early, first-round selections as well, being the dual threat running back that he is, not only running, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, Keith, and the ability to take something small and take it to the house. Take a 5-yard dump pass, make a guy miss in the open field, and he's gone. I mean, you saw that with Travis Etienne this past season for Jacksonville. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, I think you're going to go from a team in the year span where you wanted no part of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you're looking at fantasy football to where you want as many Jaguars as you possibly can because they're going to be really, really productive. And let's see if they get their tight end back as well. Who had
Evan Ingram was great.
And Evan Ingram, who was great this past season.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep that whole core together, their offense is going to be one of the best in football. Like, I legitimately think that they could be one of the best offenses in football.
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, then you throw
Ridley,
Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, a good offensive line, and you've got Doug Peterson being creative calling.
Right?
And you look at that division. The Colts are a mess.
Yep.
Titans
look like they're on the downslide.
Titans are on the downslide, right? That window is clearly closed. And then you got the Houston Texans.
Years away from relevancy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville could win 11 games next year.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Tatum posting up Quentin Grimes. Looking for his first points. Gets inside and gets them.
Tatum 6'8". Grimes 6'5".
Mitchell, pretty crossover move. Floats it up and floats it in. Mitchell now has 17.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis. Presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The Watcher. Love that song. I believe this song was on Chronic 2001. One of my favorite albums of all time. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg on that one, Eminem on that one, a lot of contributors as well. It's the Playbook with Fetsty and Ronis here. Before we get to a little NBA action, AB Adam Bernard, the resource, I see you in the chat right there. We were talking about some of the players that got traded in the NHL over the last couple of days. Something else just come down the wire in hockey.
Yeah, so I mentioned one guy that was still a big name that would be available, got traded about 20 minutes after we talked about him. So Jacob Chikrin going from the Arizona Coyotes to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for a 2023 conditional first-round pick, a 2024 conditional second, and a 2026 second-round pick. I won't get into the conditions, but that was basically the last big name to have been that was available at the deadline.
So let me ask you something then, AB, because with the Senators, by the way, the Senators scored some goals last night too, but got to ask you now, they're sitting here with 64 points. This trade right here, does it bolster them into the playoff picture a little bit more securely?
No, the Senators came into the year. They were everybody's buzz team with some of the moves they made last offseason. Like, hey, they're going to sneak into the wild card mix this year. That didn't happen, but this move is for the future, and I think people were just a little 1 year premature on that. I think next year Ottawa might be ready to really make a move up in the standings.
Thank you very much, AB, on that. If anything else happens, we will let you know in the world of the NHL. Let's talk about tonight's NBA slate. Rome, we just got some news within the last 10 minutes. Kevin Porter Jr., he's missed over 20 games. He is going to be back. He will be limited, but he will be back in action for the Rockets tonight there. So we'll have to see what he looks like there. The Rockets are going nowhere anyway. So even maybe in the next few games after he's shaken the rust a bit, maybe we start looking at props for him depending on the matchup. That night, though, is not tonight. So where are you looking at, Ron? We got the boost. We've got the Bagley double-double at plus money. Where else are you looking this evening?
Yeah, I have 3 props that I played. Mitchell Robinson over 16.5 points and rebounds, -120 on DK. You can just do the rebounds if you want at 9.5. But since he's returned from injury, he's played 3 games. He's had 23, 24, and 22 points of rebounds. We know Brooklyn has been susceptible to centers over the last 30 days. Second most points allowed to centers. They're 7th in rebounding. They've allowed the 7th most rebounds per game. And Mitchell Robinson has gone over this in 19 of 26 games when he's played at least 25 minutes. Knicks didn't play yesterday. So I see no reason why he doesn't go over this.
I actually, you know what? I'm not missing out on this again. Okay. I'm not. I missed out on it last time.
Are you going to do the points rebounds or just the rebounds?
Just the rebounds. That's it. I'm just doing the rebounds here. I think we have a better shot there. So I know. Look, you're right.
I mean, he gets 5-6 shots from the field. They're usually easy baskets, lobs, putback. So
he can't do anything else.
I don't think all I need him to get is 5 to 7 points. I think he gets 10 to 12 rebounds.
Right. So, yeah, I put that bet in as well. So now my 2 big man bets right there are Bagley and Mitchell Robinson. We can look at some of the other games going on as well here. A little bit later on, starting. I mean, you got the Nets and the Knicks tonight. You've got the Cavs and the Celtics. Anything you like here at all?
Because Jaylen Brown over 24.5 points, -120. Well, I got it earlier on Caesars. He's gone over this 73% of the time at home. He's averaging 26.5 points per game on the season, 27.6 at home. He's averaging 31.8 points per game in the last 6 matchups with the Cavs, and he's faced the Cavs twice this year and had 32 and 30. I think he has an easier matchup compared to Tatum, who's going to see the bigs there. Not that it's an easy matchup, but I'd rather have guards go against Cleveland. So Jaylen Brown at 24.5. Yeah, I'm going to take the over there.
We don't really have a decision regarding Joel Embiid just yet. He's a game time decision. This was actually a line I was looking at, thinking that Philly would be able, because I think Miami was favored by 2 going in. Let's see where they are now. I thought that might get 1.5 they're favored by. So if I just don't know if Joel Embiid's going to play. I'm thinking he's going to play. If he plays, you think the Sixers can beat the Heat?
Yeah. I mean, I would think after losing the other night, but yeah, Miami's favored by 1.5.
I mean, what would you do right now? We're sitting here. We don't know if he's going to play. Is it too risky to place the bet on them? Because I'm guessing once we find out, they're pulling this game and
he might not play. They don't have props up for him.
Interesting.
DraftKings.
They
have Harden at 22.5 points. I mean,
I've been debating this all day.
I'm deciding if I go back to Jimmy Butler.
That's not bad.
He's 20.5 points. Even as Pierre, I don't know, man. I know he just went over. It's easy to say, well, he just did it and he likes playing them. Let's just play it again. But I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know, man. They don't have him beat up, and this line would indicate that they don't expect him to play.
Right. We've seen this before.
Tobias is 14.5. Melton 18.5, Harden 22.5, and those are the only points they have up. Nothing for Maxey. They're probably worried because they know if Embiid sits, then Maxey's going to see an uptick, and they don't want to put a low number. Everyone bets Maxey, and then Embiid's out. So that's
waiting on that. No, we'll put the resource on it as well. Adam, just be on watch to see if Embiid is ruled out officially here, because if we do get any inkling that he's ruled in before they remove it, I want to then bet the Sixers to plus 1.5. But I'm guessing they have someone sitting there that's running all these books for DraftKings that are ready to pull the game right when we find out if he's going to be in or not.
We have starting lineups for a couple teams. Suns are going to start Paul Booker, Okogie, Durant, and Ayton. Bulls, Beverly, Caruso, Levine, DeRozan, Vooch. Hornets, Rozier, Oubre, Hayward, Thor, and Williams.
Interesting. So the Suns, and I was wondering what they were going to decide who was going to be going to the bench between Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie. I thought it was going to be Okogie coming off the bench because he's more of the scorer and Craig can help out on the defensive end. But shockingly enough, I don't know if it's something because they're planning on limiting Durant. They want to see how Okogie is with Durant. But Okogie's put up some good games, ever since they were shuffling players around. So it just makes me wonder if this is what they're going to be doing moving forward, because for now, I got to be off of Okogie props, Roan, with Durant there. Even if he plays 25 to 27 minutes, I did see reports that he will be limited. So I'm thinking that he's not going to get 30 minutes tonight. But we've seen these reports go awry as well. I'm expecting first game back, and especially in this game where they should just kick their butts, I'm expecting 25 to 27 minutes. And you already said that if you knew you could predict the future, that you saw that he was playing 25 minutes, you would still go with that DraftKings boost.
Yeah, because we know how quick he can score, how efficient. Chris Paul's going to set him up. And they're going to look to get him going. I know he might not want to be selfish and try to acclimate, but I think they're going to look to get him going.
Anything for Drew Holiday tonight with no Chris Middleton going up against Orlando? It's a good matchup for him. Check out his points. That was something I was thinking about before, but never looked into it because we got the news that Middleton was going to be out for this game. His point prop, Drew Holiday, is sitting at 18.5.
Nah, it could be a blowout.
Right. What do you think about that line, 8.5? We were talking about whether or not the 6.5 was a trap bet last night, and the Bucks ended up turning up a notch in the second half. What do you think about 8.5 here going up against Orlando? I mean, you mentioned it in passing before that they had been playing a little bit better. They can, they're a slow-paced team. I mean, do you think that the Bucks can still beat them by 9 tonight?
Yeah, I think they can.
I was thinking of placing a bet on that. I might actually just do that because again, now you've got, hey, you know what? But you have me on alert for trap lines and everything like that because I don't want to get hooked here. But again, this is another situation where the Bucks have the front court talent to be able to get inside. That shouldn't be a problem. They don't have Middleton. Who cares? They've got plenty of other scorers. They could give anybody on their bench a few more shots here. Ingles. They could give Grayson Allen a few more shots. They have the depth to be able to replace a player maybe outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I keep staring at that line, Roan. I'm putting it on paper here or on digital, whatever you want to say. I'm going to be betting the Bucks minus 8.5 tonight against the Orlando Magic. I'm locking that in right now. What else are you looking at while I put in this bet, my third bet?
Jalen Williams of the Thunder. I like him over 24.5 points, rebounds, assists. Minus 118 on DK. He's averaging 27.8 PRAs without SGA. He's averaging 25.7 rebounds, 2 assists. No, that was what he did yesterday without him. And the last time he faced the Lakers, he had 40 PRAs. So hopefully I don't get screwed by the Thunder again, and they actually let Jalen Williams play 30, 35 minutes. And the Lakers, both teams top 6 in pace. So I'm going to go with Jalen Williams.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Lakers for a second here because the Lakers, no LeBron, obviously, no Anthony Davis, no D'Angelo Russell either. So at this point here, I mean, we got to take advantage of something here. And I didn't check to see what some of the other lines are, but we were talking about this when you and I were talking last night about some of their bench scoring that came through for them. I mean, do you think that we should try to take advantage of something in even medium prop or in even low line? Because that's a lot of scoring that's out of the lineup tonight.
Yeah, you could probably look at Schroeder and Beasley would be my guess.
Yeah, we were talking about Schroeder. Schroeder's going to take advantage until Russell comes back. So
he's at 16.5 points. His assist is 7.5.
Ooh, that's not bad. The 16.5 points isn't bad. What about his PAs? Let's see what they're at right now.
3.5, I think.
What do you think about that?
Oh, wow. Malik Beasley is 17.5 points and 18.5 on some books.
Wow. It's a big number right there. At
He's going to – I have him in the value video. He's going to take 16 shots tonight, though.
I mean, someone's got to shoot on that team. Mm-hmm. They're not going to give Jared Vanderbilt a zillion shots. Yeah. I just want to take advantage, man, because, again, it's just you have so much high-powered scoring that's out in this game. And now this is what we're going to see. I'm very curious to see what ends up happening with LeBron James in the next couple of weeks. Because from what I've been reading, some things he's done, some think, well, we'll see where they are in the standings still by the time, because he's going to be reevaluated, I think, in 2 weeks from now, maybe 3, but at least 2 weeks from now. So we'll have to see what happens with that and who we're looking at moving forward. By the way, Marty is wishing you luck in the fantasy basketball playoffs, and he's just trying to win his next 2 matchups.
Thanks, Marty. You don't have anything to say to Fensty about that league?
No, Marty's taking my pride. Marty's taking my bobblehead. He's taken a lot from me this basketball season here, Roan. All right, he could leave me alone a little bit and just wish you luck. You're the number 1 team in this league every single year, man.
We'll see. I'm 1 right now, but there's still 2 weeks left.
Right. I feel like you started out pretty, I don't want to say slow, but you were in the middle of the pack, and then all of a sudden you shot up the standings.
I've only lost 1 week this year, and it was 5-4, but I have 3 weeks where it was 4-4-1. I think it was actually 3 weeks in a row. That's why. It was the beginning of the year. I think it was 3 weeks where it was 4-4-1. And then since then, I've only lost 1 week, 5-4.
Amazing, dude. You're getting set to contend, defend your title, 2-time champ over here. Just absolutely insane. We'll go over some of the other lines and spreads for tonight's NBA action here. Just getting underway, talking NBA props, whatever else news breaks. If you're just tuning in, previewed for a very short time the Detroit Tigers a little bit earlier. We also talked about, again, the ongoing debate, which to me is not a debate on who should be NBA MVP. That's been a very trendy topic in sports. And I get it. It's around this time. It's the end of season. We start thinking of awards. But to all those out there, stop trying to think of reasons to not give it to Nikola Jokic. Just because, it's impressive what he's done. He's not the first player to win MVP 3 years in a row. We've seen it before, but what he's doing is absolutely deserving. And you can't take that away from him at all. You can't. What negatives? He's done everything great. I've given you the wrap already. Let's get back to talking some NBA props before we send you off to Ricky Props and Lisa Ann on Bettor Sports Live. It's the Playbook with Fensty and Ronas here on Bettor Sports Network.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
Monday Night Rants, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Do you believe in the Madden curse? Do you think that's a real thing?
I did. Now, I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore, but it was a real thing for a solid 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it was Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Hillis.
LT was never on the cover. I know that.
Was he not? I thought he was one. Okay, well, you do know all the covers of everything.
Yeah, okay. So if you want, I could do this real quick. So Garrison Hurst is the first official Madden cover athlete, 1999. 2000, I believe they still put John Madden on the cover. And then 2001 is where it all started. So 2001, you have Eddie George. 2002, Dante Culpepper. 2003, Marshall Falk. 04, Michael Vick. 05, Ray Lewis, first defensive player on the cover.
Okay.
06, Donovan McNabb. 07, Sean Alexander.
Okay.
08, Vince Young. 09, Brett Favre.
Okay.
10 is a trick one because it's
no way you know.
And Larry Fitzgerald. 11, Drew Brees. 12, Peyton Hillis. 13, Calvin Johnson, I believe so.
You're right.
14.
No way you know all these.
14, also a trick question.
Uh-huh.
I believe that's the Madden 25 cover, and it's Barry Sanders, unless you got it for the new consoles, in which case Adrian Peterson
oh my God.
was on the cover.
You're not cheating. You're not looking at...
Swear on my life. Swear on my life.
Okay, keep on going.
15, we have Richard Sherman.
Okay.
16, hold on. 16 is Odell Beckham.
Okay.
16. 17, now this is the one I get mixed up because 17 and 18 are back-to-back Patriots.
They are.
17, I think, is Gronk, and 18 is Brady.
You are correct.
19 is Antonio Brown.
Correct.
20, Patrick Mahomes.
My goodness.
21, Lamar Jackson. 22, Brady Mahomes. 23, John Madden. Yeah, dude, I'm a covered nerd when it comes to this stuff.
We now know, but that was really impressive. I don't know how.
Thank you.
That's literally 29 of them or something like that. Wow, that is. You did not miss a single one, and you even got the special editions where they had two people on the covers.
Monday Night Rants, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Justin Fenster and Adam Ronis back with you here and looking at some of the lineups coming out there. How about this, Ron? Of course this happens here. The Pistons starting lineup. You ready for this? You got Killian Hayes. You got Jaden Ivey. Rodney McGruder is going to start. Bogdanovich, Wiseman. Bagley is coming off the bench. He could still get 25 minutes off the bench.
He has the last 2 games.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the game where maybe they start him a little bit.
I thought there was a chance too.
Yeah, he can play power forward.
I mean, Wiseman played 27 minutes last game.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be fine. He'll get some power forward minutes as well. But that's a big bet that I got tonight there at plus 180. Marvin Bagley III, though, he's going to be coming off the bench. So a little bit, I mean,
he played 24 minutes last game.
Right.
21 and 12. Diallo might not be a bad points prop either.
Yeah, he's been starting to come alive a little bit, man.
I'm not going to mess with it, though. It's not bad. But
do you worry, though, with Bogdanovich back in the mix?
Didn't they say he's going to be limited?
Oh, I did not see that he was going to be limited.
I thought.
Okay.
Maybe,
I did not see that. So that changes everything right there. Makes me feel a little bit better about Bagley, too. If he's going to be limited, then Bagley's almost guaranteed to play some power forward minutes.
Bagley's going to shoot as soon as he comes in.
Absolutely. 100%. Rick Camlin, we were talking about this before with him. I mean, second overall pick. That's the problem. A lot of these guys who are just one and dones, especially from Duke, of course. I mean, they get a lot of great prospects, but if they're not hanging there for more than a year, I mean, there's certain rawness of these players and they have trouble adjusting on the professional level. You got him. You also had Jahlil Okafor. I remember this. And this is why you have to be careful because people like when the analysts do this, comparing these rookies to NBA players. I remember the draft, Jahlil Okafor got compared to Tim Duncan. Of all people, Tim Duncan, you're saying this guy could be the next Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward, whoever's played the game of basketball. That's just too high of expectations right there. And then he was offense only, and he wasn't, and it threw you off. So for those that are hanging there in your rookie dynasty drafts for NBA, you probably hear something like that. You're like, wow, I'm coveting this guy. So just be careful around draft time when you hear these player comps. They sell, people like them, but you have to be careful because at the end of the day, they just want to put the comp out there. They don't go through all this research and they don't watch all the tape and compare moves. It's really who's on the top of their head. That's just something that I picked up when watching draft coverage over the last couple of days. Roan, we hear also, and this is something to focus on another day too, that Steph Curry is about to be ready to return here. Do you think the Warriors have any shot at going on a run? I mean, what do you think of this team? Because I can't doubt their offense, but their defense has just been so piss poor. And the guy that they got that was going to help them stop the bleeding a little bit, Gary Payton, is still hurt there. They got themselves some damaged goods.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, though, they're right there, the top, or not the top, but they were like the 9th, 10th seed the other day. They're now 5. That's how bunched up the West is. They are tied with the Clippers. But they have 1 less loss. They have played 2 fewer games than the Clippers, but they're right there. So they can move up to a 4, maybe a 3. Right now, if the playoffs started today, it'd be Suns Warriors in the first round.
How great would that be?
I don't think we're going to get that, though. NBA definitely doesn't want that. Not in the first round. They want that in the second.
Right.
Or conference finals. So, but yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, things have changed. And if they get Curry back, potentially could go on a run here and move up. So, you don't want to count them out. But, yeah, defensively, they've been horrendous this year, and they're terrible on the road.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, top 3 in the West, do you think that it ends up being something like Denver, Memphis, and then probably Phoenix, right? Do you think that's how it ends up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sacramento, all offense. Different story once you hit the playoffs. And for some of you out there and some of the analysts are like, oh, put some respect on the Kings. I can't put respect on a team that gives up over 118 points per game. I'm sorry. I can't. their shots off in a series. In a series, it's very, very different than just playing random teams. In a series, you have to throw different things throughout these series, throughout these different games. You have to feature different players. The problem is with the Kings, they're so poor defensively that if they're cold from the field, then they're not going to be able to do anything. They're going to be ineffective because they haven't been able to stop anyone. There's a reason why when we look at Kings games, a lot of times you're seeing them flirting with 240s for totals. And I just don't believe in this team in the playoffs. They can end up, they're on a 4-game win streak right now. They can end up being a top 3 team. I still don't believe them. If they're going up against, let's take right now, it ended today this season. They're going up against the Clippers, Roan. I mean, at that point, even in this series against the Clippers are a very good defensive team. And they added Westbrook for the offensive end, Gordon for more offense as well. I don't know if the Kings get out of the first round in that matchup.
Yeah, no, they're fun to watch, but they're not built for the postseason. You cannot play defense like that. But they have been a fun team to watch. And hopefully De'Aaron Fox will be back so I can bet his player props because he's been crushing it.
But, dude, in that series, man, I guess I don't know if they would do this or not, but let's say they continue starting Westbrook and let's say these two teams met up in the playoffs. You got to be thinking that Paul George would be on De'Aaron Fox, right? Probably. Even though De'Aaron Fox is probably a little bit quicker than him.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be stupid not to do it. Why waste him on a Harrison Barnes or a Keegan Murray? You put him on the guy who's going to be scoring a lot of the points in the backcourt. It just, you're not going to put him on Kevin Huerter, who's just going to be putting up shots from downtown for the most part. You got to put him on De'Aaron Fox. The one issue is Fox is a very quick guard, and if he's taken George to the limit when it comes to his conditioning, might impact him on the other side, but they don't care about that, and they shouldn't. They should start, if this were the series, they start with George on Fox, and if Fox starts burning him, okay, then you guard everyone else. You let Fox do his thing, score some points, put some priority on other players, and then use that defense to limit their production on the offensive end, and the Clippers can put up their own offense. So if I'm a Kings fan, if you're the Kings, who do you want at this point? I hate to say it, you probably want the Warriors at this point if you're the Kings. Who would you, if you're the Sacramento Kings?
Dallas.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point right there. Dallas would be an ideal matchup for them. But, man, of any of the teams that are right now outside the play-in tournament, or inside right here, it's just not good because you got a lot of teams that have bolstered their teams offensively, and the Clippers sitting there in 6th place, although, like you were saying, very bunched up, so things can change on a dime. It's interesting because, the Warriors were my pick to go back-to-back. I thought that they would be fine. I thought that they would get over the drama that happened with the punch, Draymond Green to Jordan Poole, which was one of the most devastating punches if you ever see the video. It's wild. But we hear different things about what the locker room is like right now. Rick Campbell, who's coming up next with Lisa Ann, was talking about how it has impacted the locker room. We got to see what they can put it together here, man. But that's the thing with this Warriors team. This Warriors team locked down defensively. Andrew Wiggins was a big reason why. This year, outside of Wiggins, they have so many holes on defense, man. You could score on them any which way possible. Even Curry, when he's playing, Curry hasn't been good defensively.
No, this is not what we're used to seeing from Golden State. Maybe they can turn it on. We've seen it in the past, but I'm not buying it, man. I just think that it's been a large enough sample now where they just haven't been good.
Yeah.
They're mediocre. Right. They probably are thinking, yeah, we'll be fine. We turn it on.
They did this to themselves, man.
I think it was Draymond who said, I guess, we've been known to have good defensive game plans for players, how they limited Lillard last night. I think that's what it is. I think they have such a confidence because of their past success. They feel like, all right, playoff start, we can turn it on. And maybe they can. Maybe we're all going to be like, wow, we shouldn't have doubted them. But I got to go based on what we've seen this year. And it has not been good.
They started it. They did. They started it. They said it before the season. I didn't think they'd commit for the early part, the first few games. It looked like they weren't going to commit to what they had said regarding limiting some of their starters early on. But then they did it. And they did this to themselves, and they didn't give a crap. And now look at them. They're now fighting for positioning here. They need some home court. That's going to be big for them. So for the Warriors, they need Curry to come back and not get hurt again in order to defend their title, or at least have a chance to defend their title successfully. But I just don't see it either. They're just too.
I have a potential Knicks prop for you. I don't know if I'm going to play it.
Let's go.
Emmanuel quickly over 12.5 points. You know, he's gone over this in like 8 straight.
I mean, he's their main bench player. He's their sixth man, essentially. So I'm fine with it.
What about Bridges?
So Bridges is going to be, I mean, RJ Barrett has done a lot of bad things this year.
His minutes have been going down.
But he is a good defender, and he does read through screens. So he will be.
Bridges 20.5 points. He's gone over this in every game except 2. And the 2 games he didn't were because of blowouts. He played less than 30 minutes and didn't take a lot of shots.
What do you like better between that prop and the quickly prop off the bench?
Probably Bridges. I don't think I'm not going to play either. I think I'm just going to stick with my 3 props that I gave out, the double on Bagley and the Durant boost. I think I'm sticking with that. And then if for some reason, let's see what we got. So Durant's at 7, so I'll know by 9:30 if I won that. Bagley's at 7, okay. Jaylen Brown 7:30, okay. And then what was my other prop? Mitchell Robinson 7:30, okay. So hey, if they all do well, we got Pelicans Blazers at 10, baby.
Ooh.
And maybe we go back to Brandon Ingram?
We have to, yes.
Right? I mean, against the Blazers on a back-to-back.
Who's stopping them?
Yeah. I mean, he's going to take a ton of shots. So Simons might play.
Really?
So
I didn't see that.
I thought I saw he was questionable.
Oh, I didn't see that. Interesting. I thought he needed another couple of games. Even with him in, you're not going to stop Brandon Ingram. That's the thing. Brandon Ingram's a good driver. I thought that Brandon Ingram, I guess when you have McCollum there, he can run the point. But Brandon Ingram,
Simon's listed as questionable. That was like 2 hours ago.
Wow. Interesting here. So the Blazers getting a little bit healthier, but ultimately, man, we might have to look at Brandon Ingram. I know that we just missed it last time, but man, no more getting hooked from Brandon Ingram while Zion Williamson is out. Apparently, Zion.
Hopefully. So if I hit those, if I do well on those, then I'll have something at 10, probably on Ingram. If not, then I'll just tomorrow's only 4 games, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, let's see.
We'll have some stuff for them.
Oh, my man, Halliburton playing tomorrow against the Spurs.
It should be good. Nothing's too.
And I can't be mad at him since Rudy Gobert messed up my double.
Oh man! Again, I didn't text you about that. See, I root for you. I didn't text you about it. So I mean, you were hitting some of those legs early in that parlay. You were, man. It's always 1 or 2.
Well, it was 2 in this case. I got greedy with Halliburton, but I did like Gobert. But it was only minus 150. Still, man, how does he get 7 rebounds against the Clippers?
I don't get that. I don't get it. Zubac, Mason Plumlee, you could get 7 rebounds against those 2 guys, and they're 1.5 feet taller than you. Golf talk is fun with Tour Junkies now playing with BSN on demand. Here, David Barnett and Pat Perry take a victory lap for Chris Kirk's win at the Honda Classic. Give their betting approach for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational and Puerto Rico Open, and take an early look at odds for the Masters. Get winning golf advice and picks for daily fantasy sports and betting on Tour Junkies, now playing on demand with the Bettor Sports Network app. Again, David Barnett, Pat Perry. For our producers, the franchise, Tony LaBarbera. For our other producer, AB, the resource, Adam Bernard. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensterman, the playbook closing down for the day. Bettor Sports Live coming up with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. So don't go anywhere. Get ready for an awesome night of sports coverage here on Bettor Sports Network.